Hey guys, and welcome back. So now we're going to take a look at adding the wet map to the shader, and we're looking at creating the point cloud information using the SOP solver. And the idea is that we want to read that information and do basically something similar to the attribute transfer to get that information from the point cloud onto the mesh. And this is something we can do in the shader, and it's called point cloud lookup. And what I have here is the points, and this is with the attributes moving. I can delete the red points, I don't need them, the black points, and only keep the red points. And all I have to do is save this to disk. So I'm gonna hit save, and I have this file. And I'm gonna create a new geo node, and I don't need this resolution. I'm gonna create a bounding box, a bound node, and I'm gonna keep only one surface. So let me check. I think this is, I want to keep the surface that is pointing up. You know what, let's create a grid just to be safe. Yeah, so basically, let's say this is the beach zone, and we have a very low res geometry that we're going to apply a texture to. So something like that. And this is our geometry. I don't know why the viewport is not showing this. Okay, so I have a flat grid, and there is no details, there is no mesh. In SOPs, we have to have a lot of points to do an attribute transfer. And I have a camera, and I'm gonna assign, and we've written this information, the points to disk. Okay, so I'm gonna create a shader. Let's go to the math context, and let's create a diffuse shader. So I'm gonna use the library and drag and drop a diffuse shader. Why is this not working? Okay, I'm gonna delete this, and let's create a diffuse shader, or a simple diffuse. Come on, basic diffuse, that's the name. Okay, and I'm gonna dive inside, and I don't need all of this. I don't need diffuse. I'm gonna use the emission to display the information, and I'm gonna use point cloud. So let's create a global variable. I need the point position only. I'm gonna create a point cloud lookup, point cloud import. Point cloud open. So we first open the point cloud, and we need to provide the point position, and when we render, the space is different, so we need to transform that from current to world space. And I'm going to export the file. I'm going to export the radius and the max point, and then we're going to use a point cloud filter. This is going to give us back a set of points, and then from those set of points we can say I want to read this attribute, I want to import X attribute, or any specific attribute. So we need to tell it first the attribute type and then the name. I want to import the color attribute. I'm going to connect that into the emission color and set that to white. And for the path, I'm going to paste in the file path. So it's ptc.geo.sc, and the number of points, I'm going to increase it to 100, and the search radius is in world space, so it's going to use a 0.1 radius. And remember, this is a flat grid, and I created a Mantra node, and I'm rendering the grid only. So let's hit render, and let's put this here just in case we wanted to hit render again, and I'm waiting for it to start on the left side. Let's do it. I don't know if I think this is from an old test. Let's hit render again. And should start very quickly. Okay, so let me check why it's not responding. I'm gonna pause for a second. Hey guys, welcome back. So there was no issue. It was just that I ran out of memory and Mantra was not able to find any free memory to use. And this is the first render using the point cloud, and you can see we're getting red coloration. Now I said that we need to delete the points, and that was a mistake. So here, if I disable this, we only have points in this region, and without with the original inputs, we have points that are black here, and that's important because we want to provide more data for the shader. Now we use that point radius, and you see how this area is stretching. It's because we don't have enough points for the shader to interpolate the values. No points at all, not points with black values. And what I did is I went back and disabled this, and then saved the file to disk again, and then I'm gonna hit render, and now it should render with the result looking exactly like the shader. And you can see that we're getting a lot of details, pretty much all the details that we need. And the point radius controls how big the point cloud lookup is. So here I'm setting it to 0.1, and the point number is how much each shading sample, how many points can each shading sample take. And it was set to 10. I'm increasing this to 50. I'm going to increase this to 0.025, and let's go back. And render to end play. And there we go. That's our smooth result. And if I change this and save again, obviously we're gonna have a sequence, and render again. It's gonna look different. Yep. So that's how we do point cloud lookup, and this works with any geometry, and we don't need any detail. We don't need any points available in the geometry, and that's why this method is very, very efficient, because we can get very accurate attribute transfer without the need to use a high-res geometry. And we're gonna implement this we're gonna do this, or I'll show the setup in the beach shader. We're going to use the point cloud lookup information to tweak the diffuse color basically, and